Hello, everybody. Today I'm coming to you with the August bonus class, and I picked the Sunkissed stamp set, which is in the July to December mini catalog. And those of you that really know me well, I mean, I like beach and mountains, but I do really like the beach. Especially the warm beach. We actually just came back from down on the Oregon coast, and the beaches down there are just beautiful. However, it was not very warm. It was pretty windy and unseasonably cooler than normal. But one of our favorite places that we go on vacation, well, this was pre-COVID, and we are going back in October finally, but is Puerto Vallarta, and this kind of reminds me of that anyway. But yes, I do love the beach. So I picked this set, and once I started working with it, I actually did quite a few cards using mainly these two, but I did do a card with these two little guys here, the little seashells and the pelican, and I used the Happy Birthday Sunshine quite a bit. Anyway, I also posted a video, and I had used this stamp set and posted some one sneak peek of one of the cards too. So if you missed that video, because I did watercoloring with it, so if you missed that, I'll tag it. It's out on my blog, and it's also on my YouTube channel. So if some of you don't follow my YouTube channel yet, you should follow my YouTube channel. I would greatly appreciate it. But okay, so we are going to go ahead and get started. I have my words all mounted. I didn't mount these two yet, because some of the designs I ended up using the Stamparatus, so just to get a richer, bolder effect with it. So I'm going to put that to the side, and I will pull it out as the Stamparatus as we need it. So here's our first card. This one is, I love it, actually. I think this is, it's simple, but yet very elegant card. So what we're going to do is, in your packet, I'm going to bring everything out. You actually are going to have, this is actually the inside for this one, because I wanted to stamp the inside of it. But what you actually have is two white pieces, and then you're going to have the shimmer white that we're going to stamp on. You're going to have the Pool Party 4x5 1/4 layer, and then your 5.5 by 8.5 card base. This piece here, and it's basically a 4x5 1/4 if I remember right. Yeah. And I have die cut a circle for you. And then you're just going to use some washi tape. And all you're going to do is, this was the easiest way to do the circle, or one of the ways I came up with. I know in the past there's been times where I've used the easy release sticker sheet kind of things. But then I saw somebody had done it using just die cutting and then taping your circle on, and I thought, oh, that's a great idea too. And I tried it, and so this worked really easy. And honestly, if you wanted to, you could end up using the backside for a card if you decided to, if you want. So all we're going to do is tape it on just like that. Mine might be 3 3/4. No, it's 4x5 1/4. Oh, I know what I'm doing. I'm taping it onto the wrong piece. So do not tape it onto the piece that goes to the inside. Make sure you're taping it onto the 3 3/4 by 5" piece of shimmery white. It should be a little bit smaller. And what you want to do is push it up to the top so it's level at the top, and then just make sure it's centered side to side. And of course, it doesn't have to be 100% perfect. And if you don't want your circle to be in the center, if you want it over to the right or the left, yeah, I guess on your screen, this would be the right and the left. For me, this is actually right and left. But anyway, you know what I mean. Okay, and then what we're going to need, and I have so many blending brushes sitting out here. I'm going to try and pull a couple of those in and just see where I'm at with blending brushes, so I don't have to necessarily dirty up some more. Now, we are going to use Sahara sand, and we're using Sahara sand, I think, almost in every card. Not quite, but quite a few of them. I use Sahara sand, Coastal Cabana, and I added a little bit of Balmy Blue. Now you can use Pool Party or Balmy Blue, and I might pull in both as I start doing some blending. So I'm going to have them both opened up. You just can't see them all in the screen. I just liked adding a little bit more of some bluer tones up here in the sky. And Pool Party is more of a bluish green, kind of like Coastal Cabana, just not as dark. Pool Party is actually one of my favorite. That one's got yellow on it. One of my favorite blues. Oh, that one definitely has... I need to... Oh, there we go. These are some of my older brushes. They're not the Stampin' Up brushes, so I apologize for that, but I just have so many out. I'm going to use that one. A little bit smaller one. Okay, now what I did, I started with the Sahara sand to start with, like the, where would be your sand beach area. And just like normal, I'm gonna go ahead and start off to the edge. Now, you don't have to in this case. I know normally I always say start off the edge so you don't have this dark tap at first. If you wanted to use this piece of paper for something else, especially this front side, which you probably wouldn't, but you could flip it and use the other side. That's why I don't necessarily drag it across, but you could do this little bit just so you're getting that first touch so it's not too dark. And we're just gonna, and I'm just holding this in place, like it's not taped down except for up here, but I'm just kind of holding it so that I'm not like gonna bend the paper up or move it around in any direction. And there we go. There's our Sahara sand. Now I'm going to, I need one more brush. I'm just going to get a clean one. What I'm first going to do, and normally I would probably say you just work your way up, but I'm going to bring in the Balmy Blue and kind of get a little bit of blue going on here just so we have an idea of our sky. And then we'll come in and in the middle blend in some Pool Party and Coastal Cabana. So here's our little bit of blue. And I am kind of circling around here as we go. Make sure I'm not getting out of screen there, and I apologize if I do. Okay, now we're going to bring in some Coastal Cabana. And again, tapping off, because this is going to be a little bit darker now. And now we're going to just fill in this area here. And it almost kind of blends that blue in. And I will go back and add. Now you could add a darker blue if you want your sky to be a little bit darker. I almost thought about bringing in a little bit of Tahitian Tide, but I was afraid it might be a little too bright, but I'm going to go ahead and try it. And I'm going to definitely blend off a little bit, and then we'll just add a little bit. Actually, I think it adds a nice touch to it. Now, at any given time, when you're blending here, lift it up and see where you're at. See, this one definitely, that blue and that little bit of Tahitian Tide in there really added some nice blues to that. So here's what it looks like right now. Isn't that pretty? I think I'm going to stop. Now, I could have put a little bit more of the Sahara sand there, but I kind of like how it is. So, real quick, I'm going to close up my ink pads. Now, I'm keeping my brushes like right on top, or I'm going to close up some of them or slide them out of the way. The Sahara sand we're going to use. So, what I'm going to do is slide this out of the way. And I'm going to bring in my Stamparatus. Like I said, I used the Stamparatus for most of the cards because, oh, look, see, my words are still sitting there. I wanted a really bold, dark effect to it when I stamped it. Okay, let's real quick, let me see if I have a clean sheet. Now I'm trying to find where my sheets are. Oh, here they are. Of course, right where they should be. Let me just pull in a clean one. Okay. Move that out of the way. And we are stamping with red rubber stamp, so we don't need the foam pad below. So what I'm going to do here, and I always, unless it's a big bold stamp that's stamping the whole thing, I use my magnets. Now sometimes I know in the past, just recently, we've been using some big bold stamps, and I've been telling you to add a little piece of adhesive behind here. That's because we can't use the magnets. So in this case, I always come down an inch and go over an inch, and that's where I line it up at. You can pick whatever your starting point. If you want it to shove it all the way up in the corner so that if it does move, you know you're going to shove it back up in the corner, of course you can certainly do that. You would do it just like this. You know, put it up here, and then you're tight in the corner. Put your magnets down here. Line your stamp up just like this. That way, if for some reason it moved, which it shouldn't if you have your magnets down. I just don't always like to get too close to this edge sometimes, because sometimes you have a problem with it. Whoops. But we're going to do it just like this. And you just line it up where you want it to be. If you want it to be over further, if you want this to be over further, make your choice. And yes, it's going to come outside of that circle just a little bit in just a few areas. And that's what makes it so awesome, I think, anyway. All right, and we are going to stamp with Sahara Sand. And this one is a little bit darker than my original, which is fine. That's because I added a little bit of that Tahitian tide in there, and that kind of darkened it up even more. Okay, just going to push, push, push here. And you see how it's not very dark? We want this to be darker. So I'm inking it up again. Putting some good pressure on. We need one of those. Stampin' Up needs to come up with that tool. See how much darker it is this time? I'm going to do it one more time with this one because my background was a little bit darker. So keep that in mind. If you don't want it, if you want it lighter, definitely don't add Tahitian tide to it. I would just keep it to the Balmy Blue and Coastal Cabana, and don't be heavy-handed with your blending. Usually I'm not. I'm kind of a light blender, and usually I have to make sure I add more pressure just to get it dark. I'm happy with that. Now, what I'm going to do is bring this in here, and I'm going to stamp my Happy Birthday Sunshine right there. I wasn't sure if it would fit with this in there or not. So I'm going to move that to the side because I didn't clean it yet. Now you could stamp, you know, anything you want. The other words, wishing you a sun-kissed nose and sandy toes. That one is awesome. And then, of course, we have sunny season's greetings. Love you to the beach and back. I think these are just all such good sayings for this beachy scene. And I know we've had a few like this in the past, but I have to say I do really like this one. It would be what I would use if I lived in a beachy area. Be what I would want to use for a Christmas card. There is nothing Christmassy about this either. There's not like even a bell or anything like hanging off of the palm trees. Now, when I originally did it, I just stamped this with a block, and of course it was much lighter because I only stamped it once. That's why I decided this time to do it with the Stamparatus, so I could at least do it 2 times just like that. Isn't it so pretty? I love it. I'm sorry. I just get so excited sometimes. So there we go with that. I'm going to pull this off real quick and clean that and then set it aside. Okay. Oh, I should just clean this really quick. We'll move this out of the way and move this out of the way. I'm recording. So then we will put this here. Sorry, I just had somebody, the new daycare person was going to come in with Zachary and Annabelle. And I don't have my little sticker on the door. Didn't even think about it. So we're just going to layer, 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 and then we're going to add one of these little... Now, I think I pulled out the brushed metallic dots here, but I might try one of these rusty metallic and see how they look. Because I don't have the packets all put together yet exactly with the bling, because I'm actually getting this video done before I know how many are going to be taking the class. I've been really trying to be good about getting ahead of myself as much as I can instead of sometimes being behind. Now remember on this piece right here, if you want to die cut something out of there or die cut just like a any one of the a circle or the rectangle shapes and use it for something else, definitely do that. I used to do that all the time. I mean, I taught everybody how not to waste paper, and we always... Now, if we were die cutting or punching something out of the center of it to use on the card, then we would have been die cutting out of that. But I don't do it as often anymore just because it does take time. But when I think about it, I do. Okay. So there's that. And let's see here. We're going to try, like I said, I was thinking one of these might look really good. Oh yeah. It's not that, you probably can't even tell the difference in the video, but I'm going to try these. I think I like these better. So you'll probably get one of these. And that's it. There's our first card. What do you think? And then you already have your template. You already have this little template made that you can use on so many. You could use this over and over and over and over and over again. I can't even remember where I saw it, who I saw it with. Her name is like right there on the tip of my tongue, but it's not coming to me. Dang it. Now, real quick, I am going to grab... I was trying to decide if I wanted to stamp just a few. Actually, I am going to grab the little seashells. And I'm going to put those right there in the corner. That is cute. There we go. Now, real quick, I'll just add these to the inside. And heck, I'll have both cards done. Quite often when I'm doing my samples up, I don't stamp on the inside. And sometimes I do, but not always. So it's kind of nice that when they are finished, then I don't have to go back and add inserts to all these cards. I'm going to have a huge card sale here pretty soon. Okay, there we go. This was the first one I had made, my sample, a little bit lighter. Here's this one. Adding that Tahitian tide definitely darkens it up. So there you go. There's our first card. All right, so moving on here. And when we get to the end, I have a whole bunch of samples to show you. So again, I use the same palm tree, but this time we are going to stamp on vellum. And in this card here, I have some smear marks, and that's because I didn't let the vellum dry long enough. And so you can either hit it with the heat gun or, set it aside to dry. So what we're going to do in my piece of vellum is, I think 4.5 by 5.5, but we're going to cut it. Oh, it's 4.25 by 5. We are going to actually cut it down before we're done to the correct size. So in your packet, then you have 2 pieces of Whisper White that are 4 by 5.25, and that's what we're going to end up cutting this down to. Well, actually, we're going to cut it down to 3 7/8 by 5 1/8 because I only did 1/8 of a border around this one. And you have a piece of the sticker paper. This is how we're going to attach this one, is with the sticker paper. I wanted to show different options of different ways to attach vellum. So we're going to pull out the piece of vellum first. And we are going to be, and there's not really a difference from one side to the other with the vellum. So I mean, maybe you can tell that there's a smooth side and a little bit of a rougher side. Sorry, Cooper just came into the craft room. I don't know if you can even tell, honestly. So we're going to start with Sahara Sand, and we're kind of using the same colors we did before, but we probably will not add the Tahitian tide. And we are just going to put some ink down directly on what I'm going to call the back side of the piece of vellum. And I know right now it's hard for you to see it, so just give me a second here and then I'll lift it up and you'll probably be able to see a little bit of the difference now, how there's just a little bit of color. But when we put this behind a piece of white, now you can see the difference. It's just really faint at first. So you do want to add a liberal amount, and this is where being heavy-handed will come in heavy, will come in very useful if you're heavy-handed with the blending brushes. And Sahara Sand is a much lighter color, so much lighter color of a tone of brown that we have. Okay, now we are going, I should bring the card in so you can see it as we're working. Now we're going to move on to Coastal Cabana. Kind of get our ocean going here, I guess you could say. And of course, you could add more colors. You could make your sky, add some yellows and reds and, make it like a sunset if you wanted, which I'd kind of thought about doing, but I didn't. I kept it with all like ocean browns and blues and just kind of kept it that way. Whoops, silly me. I am grabbing Pool Party. I wondered why it was so light. I had moved the Coastal Cabana out of the way. And you could use Pool Party, but Pool Party is going to be much lighter and going to take you longer. My mistake. So there we go. I couldn't figure out why I wasn't really adding that much ink. I thought, dang, I really need to ink up my pad. Okay. And I'm going to kind of make sure I'm blending a little bit down here so that we don't just have straight lines going across. There's that. And I'll show you on our piece of paper here how we're doing. See how our colors... I don't want to lay it down all the way because I don't want to get ink on there. Not that it matters because I can use the back side. Now we're going to move on to the balmy blue. And of course, you could use a different color for your sky if you wanted. You don't have to use the same 3 colors. We're just going to darken up that sky. Turn it into a nice pretty blue sky. And there we go. And right now, I know it's hard to tell really what's going on here, but this is what we're looking like. We got some nice blue there. Now I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to add just a little bit more of the Coastal Cabana. Now, if you want this like ocean area to be a little bit darker, you could use Bermuda Bay because it is a little bit darker, but it's very close. Similar color range as Coastal Cabana, but it's a little bit darker bluish green color than this one is. Okay. I'm liking that. I'm just going to do a little bit of blending right there. And I think we're good to go. Okay, looks like I have a fingerprint. That's one thing you do have to be careful. It's very easy to get a fingerprint on here if you're not careful with it. There we go. I think I got them like blended out good enough. Now what we're going to do, this is going to be the tricky part, and I'm not going to stamp on it yet. I'm going to add, so here's our inked side. I am going to add our sticky stuff on first. Only because then we won't smear it as easily. Now, the sticky paper that Stampin' Up! Has, they all are in sheets. So you pull one off, you put it down. It's not one big sheet, depending on how you cut it. So pardon the top of my head here, but that's why I also cut it just a little bit bigger so that if we have to make adjustments, we can. And I'm actually trying to line up with one edge, and I picked that edge. That's why it's going to be shorter over here. And then we'll put this one down here next. And I think I doubled up just a little bit there, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully I cut everything correctly. Because you never know. I might have cut something off a little bit. Now, if you don't like working with the sticker paper, the glue dots, and we're going to use these, or maybe I did it in the other video. I can't remember. Oh no, it was a different vellum. I was working on cards for the World Card Making Day class, trying to figure out so I can get my post for the advertising done. And the glue dots from Paper Pumpkin, they're really tiny and they work really well using, they work really well on vellum. Sorry, I'm having a hard time talking today. Okay, so there's what we're looking like right now. So you can take this apart right now and add it to your Whisper, your basic white if you want, or you could stamp on it and then do it. I'm going to go ahead and pull it all off just to make sure I've got everything going correctly and I didn't mess anything up. I'm going to slide this up a little bit, slide that out of my way. And the easiest way to pull the backing piece off now is using your piercing tool, take your pick tool, whatever it is you have, and then kind of just start with your corner. You do want to make sure it's pushed down really good though. There we go. And as you start pulling on one, sometimes they'll all start coming off. We used to carry a different brand. It was the Sizzix brand of this stuff, and it was, It worked the same. I won't say when it comes to how they both worked that it was any different. It's just they didn't come in strips like this. And I know it makes it easier to kind of pull up the stuff, but I like working in one full piece all at once, yeah. So you really have to push down here to get this, to make sure it's sticking to your paper. Before you start pulling it up. There we go. And I'm just going to hold that right there. So you got to give it some good pressure. Kind of like if you've ever like cut out vellum pieces and then had to do what they call the weeding to get, it's kind of what you're doing. You're kind of weeding this adhesive back on to the paper. And this piece is being very difficult. Dang. Now, I didn't have this problem doing the first one, I'll be honest. I put it on, peeled it right off, and I'm going to move down to this one. I'm just going to make sure it's on really good. There's that piece. And I have a few gaps there of where the adhesive did not stick. I'm going to hope that's not going to matter. And if it does, I will come up with an alternative. Well, we'll see if you can even tell. That's going to be the real kicker, is if we can tell in the end. Because that's the problem with vellum. It's always trying to figure out how to attach it. How do we attach? Boy, this one section is just causing me all kinds of... I'm just going to do it. And we'll see what happens here. And hopefully we won't even be able to tell. We're going to hope for the best. Or I may be doing this card over. Now, we're going to take this. And I'm going to add it to this. And you can come all the way down to your edge. All the way over to the side, however you want to do it. I brought it down to the bottom, and I'm going over to this edge, just like that, and then we're going to trim the rest off. And I'm going to flip it and see what we got going on. Not bad. Oh, that's not even on the card. Oh, yeah. That's just on the... Perfect. Woohoo! All that fussing, and I didn't probably really need to fuss that much. I'm just going to take my scissors, because remember, this is sticky here. And I might end up straightening it out if I can't cut straight here today. But you won't know in the end anyway. Nobody's going to tell if you have a little tiny bit hanging off, because it's vellum and it's clear. Well, it was clear. We added color to it, but you can also cut it with your paper trimmer. Like if you just put it on, centered it, you could then go back and trim it. And if you wanted, you can cut the same size for everything and then just trim it down at the end. That's the other option. Like cut them all at 4 by 5 1/4 and then trim it all down to what you want. Because then you would get a very straight, even edge at the end. Okay. It's really not as difficult as for some reason I was making it look. But now we're going to bring in the Stamparatus again. And this time I am going to come out 1 inch and over 1 inch, because I think we'll put it on here and then see what it's going to look like. I don't know that it matters 100%. And I want my sand and that a little bit like right like this. And on this one, I brought in, oh, I did the Happy Birthday Sunshine again. I know there was a couple that I did, I'm going to see if I can just add this right now. No, I'm going to wait. Because I want it over as far as I can, and I don't feel like I can get it over far enough right now. So I'm liking that. I'm liking exactly where that's going. Okay. I'm using Memento. You probably could use StazOn if you wanted. I don't remember. It's been a while since I've stamped with StazOn on vellum, so usually I just use Memento, and you just have to give it a little bit of time to dry. So, sorry, I had to shut my door just a little bit, even though Cooper's in here. I could hear Zachary making some noise out there. And again, and you can see it's wet. If I picked that up and put my finger in the wrong spot, it would smear. Okay. There we go. I kind of like what's going on there. I don't think I want to stamp it again. So what I'm going to do is clean it really good first, and then I'm going to pull this one off, and then I'm going to put my words on there. And again, I'm using the Stamparatus for the words also because I want it to be bold. Now, if you don't want to do another happy birthday card, you certainly do not have to. I was thinking of pulling in a thank you, because that's one thing that's not in this set, is anything like that. So here, I know what I'll do real quick. I'm going to pull in from the art gallery set. I'm going to pull in the thank you. Just, I dropped it in the ink. Now, this is actually a photopolymer stamp set, which means I should put the pad underneath. But because I'm already set up here and I don't want to move everything around, I'm going to make it work. And because I think that I can put enough pressure, because it's just a little tiny word, I think I can make it work. Now, if it was a big, bold stamp in photopolymer, you know, flowers or whatever it might be, I probably wouldn't have very good luck with it. But because I'm just doing a word here and I can put enough pressure, hopefully. I'm going to ink it up again. And I may have to do it, you know, 2 or 3 times because I don't have that foam pad underneath. And I could have picked everything up because it wouldn't have mattered, because I wasn't lining up the palm trees again. They were already off of it. But I think I got it going on good enough there that I've made it work just with that word. But normally you would want to use the foam pad underneath when you're using photopolymer stamps. The art gallery set is one that I pull a lot of best wishes, thank you. It's got happy birthday. This is a great set for pulling in really quick. And part of it is the size of the thank you that I like on that particular one. Okay, now you can't tell in the picture. I know you can't tell, but it is really wet. If I was to flip this over here, it would, you would be able to tell then. So I'm going to move this out of the way. Move this out of the way. And I'm going to bring in my heat gun really quick. And I'm going to dry this. And the nice thing about already having it attached to our basic white piece with, you know, our double-sided sticky paper is now it's not going to curl on us. So keep that in mind. If you do it the other way and do all that stamping first, I was almost going to flip it so it didn't curl, but I don't really need to worry about that because we're not going to have any curling going on. And even though we had a few places that we were missing the adhesive, you can't tell. Now, I didn't put any bling on that one, I just realized. But we are going to add some on this particular one. Now, what I forgot is that we are still going to trim this down because this is actually the same size as this. So we're going to trim this down to 3 7/8. I just wanted the eighth of an inch of border around it. 1/8 inch border. Dang, can't talk. So we want it to be, let me just do my double checking, but yeah, this is 4. Now, if you want to cut it down to 3 3/4 by 5, you certainly can. I just liked having just that tiny little border around there. I'm just trying to decide where I want to take it off, or if I want to take a little sliver off each side, which is, I think, what I'm going to do. I have to be careful using this trimmer because I need to put a new blade in. So I don't, when I'm taking off just that little bit, sometimes you end up with a little bit of this going on. But I'll show you how to fix that here in just a minute. There is a way to fix it. Okay, so there's going to be 3 7/8. And the other way to fix it kind of is not to start at the edge, just so you don't end up with maybe a ragged where you first start to cut. 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. And this time I'm going to just cut the 1/8 off of the bottom right down here because I feel like I have plenty of sand area. And we could have stamped down below if you wanted to. You could stamp at the bottom, your phrase. Okay, so there's our 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. Now, if you end up with this kind of a little bit of fray, all you have to do is take some kind of file and smooth it out. And then you're never going to know. And we're just like that. And that's it. I could do it a little bit more, but I don't think we need to. Okay. Now we are ready to get these scrap pieces out of the way. Now I haven't tried to touch it at all. And I do notice that a little bit of that my H didn't stamp as perfectly as maybe it should have, but that's okay. And I am still being very gentle with it as to not smear. And I'll find out here in just a minute if there's any ink. See, there is still some ink there. So I'm not going to lay it back down in the same spot. I'm going to move it over here. So that means I could have dried it just a little bit more than what I did. Yeah, I'm getting less and less every time. But I'm not rubbing the back so that you're not smearing any of it. And it just lifted a little bit more of that ink off of there. And again, you have your solid piece here. If you wanted to die cut something out of that, you certainly could. And now we're just using an 1/8 of an inch border, which is always a little bit tougher to line up sometimes. Now, I think with this particular one, we are going to put black as our bling. And I'm going to do it on this one over here too. I don't know why I didn't. And I'm going to open a new pack because I like the smaller ones better. We have a couple different packs that have black in it. We have this one, and then we have the classic matte dots that have black, white, gray, and very vanilla. And as you see, I've used all the black because I like these smaller ones a lot better, but I'm out of them. So we'll use these for the small ones. And I'm just going to put one right there, just like that. The next size up is a little too big. I've put it on card fronts, but I think it is a little too big. Okay, and now we're just going to attach this to our card base. And then, of course, again, you could stamp the inside, which I think I already cleaned the stamp, so... I should have stamped the inside before I... Whoops! I almost put it on the inside. Wouldn't that have been funny? I would have just been able to flip the card around, I think, but never done that. Now, I'm not running my hand over the whole thing yet. I just wanted to give it a little bit more time to dry. And the reason why I know that is because I did that here. Now, all it does is it looks like a little bit of shading there, but you do just want to be careful or hit it some more with your heat gun. And there we go. There's our 2 cards. What do you think? I like it. I think it, oh, I know what I forgot to stamp. I see it now. So we forgot to stamp, I'm including you guys with that. On the first one, I went back and stamped some of the shells along the edge. And I did it actually after I put it together the first time too. I can't believe I did it again. And because the first time I did it before I had actually layered it all the way up. So all we need to do is put a mask here so that we're not stamping on the Coastal Cabana layer. The black isn't going to show, but I'm just going to line it up just like this. I'm going to stamp some shells there. So yeah, I'll put that in the video in the notes. Don't forget to stamp the shells. And I did like 2 there. There. Easy peasy. Easy peasy way to add it. And there's our shells. And you could do 2 over here if you wanted. And you could do even more. You could come with more shells all over the place if you want. But there we go. What do you think? Like it. Okay. Project number 3. Oh, I didn't stamp the inside. So we will stamp the inside of that one too as we move along. And if I ink up again in black, if not, we'll do it at the end. If I don't forget. Oh, I will be inking up in black again. So we'll do it then. Okay. This one I used, oh, I forgot what that embossing folder is called. I'll get the name of it. It comes in a 2-pack, but the one is like bubbles and it's a skinny one. So you run it through twice, but I thought it just, you really can't tell what it is from here, but then I just went over the top of it with Pool Party blending brush. But this time I only blended with the Sahara Sand and then Pool Party and kind of faded it to white. We're going to stamp Wishing You Sun-Kissed Nose and Sandy Toes. And I stamped all the little seashells like they were sand down here, and then stamped our pelicans going across. So what we're going to do here is take our piece of, it should be shimmer white, but it looks like I cut wisp. I did. So real quick, I'm going to grab, and the only reason I'm going to grab is because this is not going to match. You will notice a difference. Give me 2 seconds here. I'm going to grab a piece of shimmery white. It must have been tucked in. Let me see if this is the right size here, or if this one's the wrong size. I can trim it if I need to. Yeah, I'll trim it really quick. Okay, let me make sure I got that right. Yes, I do. So I'm pretty sure it's 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. So let's just trim this down really quick, and then we'll start stamping on it. So we should have 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. There we go. Okay, got that fixed. Usually if I mess up like that, don't match up the like shimmery white and shimmery white. It'll be like, this will end up to be basic white, and then this will be shimmery white. And now this piece back here is basic white, but the way it all blends in and adding the Pool Party, that part worked. But yeah, anyway, just my little pet peeve. Okay, so first, let's just pull in this piece. Now, here's how I embossed it. And like I said, it's a skinny one, but you can't even tell. Well, you can on the back. If you were looking really close, you'll be able to see the line right here, but you can only see it on the back side. So this is the embossed. This is the debossed side, which you could use either side. And honestly, if you didn't know what you were looking for, you wouldn't be able to see the seam. We're going to take Pool Party on our blending brush and very lightly go around it. And you don't need to do the whole piece if you don't want to, because you're going to be covering the center of it. So you just really want to go around just like this. There we go. Sorry, I was talking to myself just for a second about putting a sticky on the door that I didn't do. I don't know if you could hear that in the video or not, but it was just me whispering, talking to my little voices in my head. Okay. We are going to start with the Sahara sand, and we are, I'm sure you all think I'm crazy sometimes. Okay, we are just adding some Sahara sand right along the bottom, just like this. And I think that's good. It might be a little dark, I'm not sure. Well, if it doesn't look right when I stamp it, we will flip it. Then we're going to add Pool Party. And I need to re-ink my Pool Party, I can tell. And then I'm just lightly like going up over the top, blending the two colors together, just like that. Okay, now we are going to take, and this has black on it, so let me clean it really quick, because we're going to use Sahara sand again. Sahara sand is a color I don't use as often, but it does really work well for beachy colored at the bottom. And I am just going to start like right here. No, there's no right way, wrong way. And of course you can do first, second generation, third, you know, first, second, third, however you want to do it. You're not going to see them all because I went a little dark this time. So stamping off at any other generation really isn't going to work. If I would have done lighter, then you would be able to, but it just adds some texture to the background. I like it. I think that's good. Now we are going to take our pelican, and I started kind of in the center. Now, if you want to get more pelicans on there, if you don't want, you know, half of one here and half of one here, I kind of wanted 5 because that's how I tend to stamp, is in even or odd numbers, but it didn't work, and that's okay. And sorry if you see a little bit of my head here peeking in. I'm just going to stamp one of them right here. And he almost needs to be a little bit darker, so. And then I'm going to kind of come down just a little bit. And then maybe go up just a little bit. Come down. And this time I am getting 5 in, so I did a better job of, but I only got his beak there. And there's our pelicans walking across the beach. Or one pelican walking across the beach. Now, on our piece of shimmery white, I've die cut with the new stylish dies, and we are going to stamp the Wishing You a Sun-Kissed Nose and Sandy Toes. I probably should have re-inked. There we go. Mine are fairly light, so if you have re-inked like a lot of the colors we're using recently, yours may turn out a little bit darker, so keep that in mind. And I've been blending a lot with all these colors, so. Okay, just to line this up, I'm going to slide this down. Sorry if it's not in the camera. I apologize. There we go. And now we're just going to add our piece of baker's twine right there. Let me grab that. And this is going to be a short piece here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to cut right here because this is how we're going to do this. And there. So let's say these are our 2 pieces. all we're going to do is slide this in like this and do our knot. So just to show you again, and here I'm just going to cut this off so we don't have all that long stuff there. So here's your two pieces. Hopefully I have them long enough now. So the piece you get, you'll just want to, I'll make it long enough that you then just cut it in half and then decide how you want to adjust your knot. So you have your halves folded like this and you have your two circles. Stick one of the circles inside. So then they're like this, one inside the other. Take that one circle, flip it over, and you just feed the ends through. Just like that. And then you pull. And you end up with this little, I don't even know what they call it. And I kind of moved mine over so it was kind of like this and like this, because then I want to put the words right there. But of course you can do it any formation that you want. So first what I'm going to do is add my adhesive here. And I'm going to go around. I always just put the adhesive on the whole thing. Now you could put your little craft mat down and then it wouldn't stick, but I'm just going to do this. And I could have cut this piece much shorter. Flipping it over like that. Now, you could leave it like that. You can have it closed. You can have it open. This is where you can decide how you want your ribbon to kind of be. Sorry, I'm looking for my craft. Here it is. There. I'm going to go ahead and lay this down. If you lay it on your craft mat, or your silicone mat, I should say is what it's called, then it doesn't stick to it. And if you don't have a silicone mat, you want one of these. These come in very handy for things like this, especially. Okay. So I'm happy with that like that. Like I said, I could have cut this piece shorter, but that's okay. And then I usually kind of just add just a little bit of adhesive back over the ribbon or baker's twine, whatever it is you're using. And then we're going to layer this on here. Just like that. And then this goes on here. And I'm going to use mono glue only because this is embossed. Well, I kind of flip-flop back and forth, but this is an embossed piece that's got a lot to it, and mono glue will kind of stick in all those crevices, so it'll make it a little bit easier. Push that down. This is our inside piece. And I think what I'm going to do with the inside piece again, I'm going to just stamp some little seashells, and I'm going to stamp one little pelican on this one. That turned out cute. And that's going to be our inside piece. If I had another extra white, I would do my other card. This will go right here on top. And again, I'm going to use the mono glue this time, because then we're getting glue in all those little crevices. And we'll just attach this right here, just like that. And we'll go right here and right here. Oops, sorry. Bumped the camera, I think. Didn't mean to. Okay. And there's that piece right there. So now we're going to add some dimensionals right here. I could hear Zachary out there. Sure, he's dying to come in. Now Cooper wants out. It's a back and forth thing. They had made me a little thing to hang on my door last year that they gave me for Christmas that says recording now. But when Jessica got it, it was cracked. And so she contacted the person and they made her another one, but it's got a tiny little crack on it too. And so Christopher was just going to make me something to put behind it because it's out of that really thin press board type wood. I don't even know what you call it. And I haven't asked him to do it because, you know, we're still trying to get our house done. House is done. Okay, now, again, the bling. So I used, oh no, I went back to these. Yep, I think that was when I decided these looked a little bit better. The rustic metallic blings. Bling. And I just put one right there. Yeah, that one is from here. These are the ones I used the first time, but I really like how, not that there's that, when you are looking at them this way, you can't hardly tell the difference. But when you hold them close to each other, you can tell a difference. But anyway, I think they work. They work really well. Okay. This is project number 3. I hope you'll like it. I think it turned out really well. This was my first one, and this is the one we just did. We had a little bit more sand going on there. Not saying one is better than the other, just how they turned out. Okay, now we are going to do a little bit of watercoloring just so I can show you how I did it. But this is the one we're going to stamp on only because it's already dry and we aren't going to, you know, wait for the drying time. We're going to use shimmer white. You can, of course, use watercolor paper if you want. I'm going to pull in my craft mat here. And I've got 3 pieces laying here. If I have any more scrap over here, I might grab one. Because usually when I'm doing watercolor, I tend to do as many as I can at once. Now, I used Parakeet Party, Mango Melody, and Soft Seafoam when I did this particular one. I'll be right back. The door was open just enough for Cooper to get out, but I guess he felt like he wasn't going to push it open any other distance. I don't know. Now, and there's so many different ways to use watercolor, and I've been doing quite a few videos doing the watercolor, and I've showed different ways, and we did it in last month's bonus class, or last month's monthly club. We did all the watercoloring using the chalks. This time we're going to just use the ink pads. I'm going to start with Soft Seafoam, and it's hardly shows, so we're just going to put some of this down. Now you can do one color at a time. You can do all 3 colors at once if you want. There is no right or wrong way. I'm going to move to the Parakeet Party, and I'm just going to tap, because remember, this is going to be a little bit brighter green. And this one, I didn't go all the way down. And then we're going to add some Mango Melody. Now, sometimes you do have to be careful about what colors you're using so that you don't, like, muddy everything up. And I've kind of spread it out further than I probably needed to, but... And like I said, I've done it different ways where I've done one color at a time. I've done all, you know, a whole bunch of colors like we're doing right now. Well, not a whole bunch. You don't want to do a whole bunch or you would get a muddy effect. Now we're just spritzing, 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 spritzing. We want it to be liberally wet here. And then we're going to take our shimmer paper and I'm going to spritz it front and back. Not soak it, just kind of wet it. And I always do front and back so that we don't get as much of the curling going on. And then I just start dipping a little bit. And that's what you get. And I kind of like that, just like that. I don't even think I'm going to dip that one again. If you're not happy, you dip it again. Or if you missed a corner, add more. Now, the nice thing is, because we have plenty of ink here, we can go back and pick it up again. Now, second generation is going to be a little bit darker, and we may end up having to move it around a little bit to get some more ink. Now see there, I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to move these out of the way. I have paper laid out that I've been using to dry on, because I've been doing a lot of watercoloring lately, and I'm going to show you a whole bunch of them that I've made. Now, I'm going to just drag this and pick up a whole bunch of color that's left here. Do you have to do all of this? No. You can just wipe it off and start with another section if you want, or another set of colors, or play. When I do watercoloring, I do a whole bunch at once. Like, I'll cut, you know, a couple sheets, and normally I would be cutting them like just in half, 4.5 by 5.25, or 5.5, because then you can trim it down later. Same with the watercolor. I would bring in the watercolor paper. I would bring in a couple sheets of watercolor paper and shimmer white, and I would do both at the same time. Now this one's going to have a lot more greens than anything. Now, yes, this is still wet, but what you can do is just tap a little bit there, because I want to add a little bit of that Mango Melody. Now, I chose Mango Melody because it's kind of got an orangish, yellowish color to it. It's not all yellow like Daffodil Delight or... There we go. And you could use blues. You can use any colors. I just was trying to do a little bit different color effect. Now, if you have a lot of pooling going on, just take your paper towel, dab it up. Just like this. Now you could dab the whole thing and lighten it up a little bit, and then like add more color if you want. That is another way to do it. Then I just take my paper towel, wipe this off. Like if you were doing each color separately, you would have done your first color, dab your paper a little bit, clean this up, put the next color down, and as long as it's not soaking wet, you can just keep moving along. You don't even necessarily have to dry in between. Some people do. I don't take the time to do it. And they're like, there's a little bit of pooling there. I'm going to leave that color there. I'm just going to set this over here to dry. Okay. So it looks a little bit different than mine. This has more greens. That had more Mango Melody. Every one of them turned out different. And real quick, I'm going to show you the ones I made previously when I was doing the last video. So this is a lot of Parakeet Party, and this is Tahitian Tide. This is Starry Sky and Tahitian Tide. Mango Melody, Tahitian Tide. Like I was, this is Balmy Blue and Mango Melody. See, here's similar here. So this was some of the greens. I mean, I was just experimenting, but this is the watercolor paper. This is shimmer white. So I always just do a whole bunch at once and just kind of start experimenting with colors. Then I just leave these in my little stack. And when I might need a card, and if I'm bringing in a specific background, like this thank you card with this big bold flower bouquet, works perfectly. This was the cards I sent out for my thank you cards for orders for July. That was what they got. Or those thank you cards. But you have a lot of options. Here was the other card that I made in my video the other day that I will make sure you I tag in this video. But I ended up stamping this one in Tahitian Tide. We're going to stamp in basic black, but it just gave it a totally different effect. So these are ways that you can change it up just a little bit depending on what color you stamp with. Okay, I'm going to bring in the Stamparatus again, and we are going to... Now this time, this piece of paper is bigger than what I need it to be. Now, if you wanted, you could trim down a piece right away or trim it to your size and use the other pieces for something else. I'm not going to bother. Pretty sure this is 4.5 by 5.5, but I am just going to line it up here just like this, and I am going to have it stamp about just like that. I like what's going on right there. So I'm going to put it just like that. And then this one, I did pull in that thank yous from the art gallery, but I'm going to use Best Wishes this time. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put it down at the same time. Well, I'm going to try. Maybe. Actually, I'm not. I'm going to stamp this first. That way, if I want to move my words over a little bit, I can. Okay. So let's put this here. We're going to put this here and bring in our Memento Black. And we are going to stamp away. And again, we're going to stamp more than once. Isn't that pretty? I know in a video it probably is just never quite the same as it is in real person. But just think of the wow effect when you stamp this after you've made these, what you end up with. Now I'm going to pick that up. Sorry, I wanted to close the door just a little bit because any minute now I'm sure Zachary's going to come in. I think I can pick it up. Nope. Okay, so what I'm going to do is clean off. Again, I'm back to this is a photopolymer, and I don't want to pick everything up. I'm just kind of being lazy on that part. I'll admit it. I could pull it all up and put my mat underneath, but I'm not going to. I'm going to make it work. And the only, whoops. And this one may not work. I may have to, oh, yeah. I was thinking I might have to put the mat in, but I think I can make it work. Yay! Beautiful. Love it when it works, but when it doesn't. But isn't that pretty? Oh, sorry. I just think it's so pretty. I have to say, I've been having so much fun with all the watercolor stuff. It's like it brought me, because I hadn't done it again in a while. And you all know I love to blend and I love to do the watercoloring. So it kind of brought me back to it a little bit, which is nice to have a reason, I guess you could say, to work with it. We are going to use the other stamp set, I promise. Not just the palm trees. You're actually going to get to make 5 cards today because I made a little note card using this set here. And you'll see. And then I'll show some samples of some other stuff. Actually, I can pull this out of the way. We don't need that there. Oh, maybe we do. So my craft pad leaked through a little bit. Leaked through a lot. Oh, it must be my old one. So I'm just going to do some flipping here and... Oh, there we go. There's even a cleaner one. Here. I'll just pull this one out. Yeah. That must be one. I have several stuck. I always stick my craft pads underneath here. Now, if you don't have one of these, and like I said, this must be one of the newer ones I have because my older one doesn't do that, but it's probably tucked underneath there. But if you don't have one of these, wax paper works perfect. And then all you have to do is kind of fold it up and throw it away. You don't even have to clean it if you don't want to. You can just pull out another piece. Okay, let's bring in all our stuff here so you can see what we're going to assemble here. So we're just going to cut this down to 3 3/4 by 5, layer it on our 4 by 5 4 by 5 1/4 basic black, and then I layered it on soft seafoam. Depending on like what colors this ends up for you, you may not want to do the soft seafoam layer that you're going to get, because like these that we did today, they actually are a lot more yellow. And once these dry, I may go back and add some more of the soft seafoam or a green to them. They may be a little too yellow for what we were doing here, but I could save them for something else, because you can always go back and add color to those. Don't think you can't do that. You could even do it while they're still wet. Just get your mat out, get some paper out, and start adding more color again. Okay, so we want this to be 3 3/4 by 5. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to cut a little bit off the top, and then I'm going to see how it's I'm kind of just guesstimating. Yeah, that's going to be perfect. I could have done it a little different, cut some more of that off, but that's okay. Now, the 3 3/4. So that's going to be, let me trim a little bit off here. And then see where else I want to trim. 3 3/4 is right there. And that is perfect. See, look at that. I like it. I even like how I ended up with a little bit of white at the bottom. I think that turned out great. Put that away, and now we're just going to assemble. And be our inside piece. And again, you could stamp the palm tree on the inside, which we haven't done that yet. Maybe on this one I should bring it back out. See how it looks with the palm tree on the inside. Again, if you wanted to cut a rectangle or something out of the center of that, you could. So you're not wasting paper. So coming up, we are going to be having a Stampin' Bingo last Saturday in September. Now I can't even remember the date. I don't want to tell you the date and then it be the wrong date. Last Saturday in September, and then October 1st is going to be World Card Making Day. I have booked the facility. We are going to do 2 back-to-back events. Yep, I did it. Booked it. So, plan ahead for 2 back-to-back Stampin' events, and I'm going to make them both fun, but different. I think you'll all will like it. I'm going to go ahead and stamp them in black. Now, you could stamp them in the Sahara Sand, but because we did the black here. Oh, I love it. So, I was going to look for that other card I wanted to do the inside with, but I have a mess over here to the side. I'm not even going to dig through there. I'll do it when I clean up. And there is that one. And then we'll put our little bit of bling on it. And look at that cute card. I can't imagine what you guys think when you watch my videos and you listen to me. Of course, I've listened to some other people's videos and I think, okay, well, mine aren't so bad. Okay, there's that. It's hard to talk to yourself. Talk to yourself, but you're talking to people that aren't here right now. There we go. Here's our first one. Here's our second one. Very similar, but yet different. You'll never make a watercolor paper look exactly the same at any given time. You just can't do it. Well, maybe you can. I can't do it. So here's our little bonus card I made. I just thought it was so cute. I used this linen paper. And we've used this before in some of the monthly clubs or the Zoom class or something. Now, this is sticker paper. It's really thin. So what we're going to do is you could stamp on it first. You can peel it off and attach it to your basic white first. You can do it either way. I'm going to go ahead and peel it off first. It doesn't really matter. There's no right or wrong. When you get yours, it's going to be a little bit bigger so that you can trim it down easier because I ended up already cutting mine, and I think I might end up with difficulties lining it up perfectly because I'm pretty sure this is the exact size I need. And if you're a little bit bigger and then you go trim it, it makes it so much easier. And I knew that, but then I started cutting and I already had it ready. So I'm going to try it this way. And if I have to, I'll trim it down just a little bit. It's not the end of the world. I mean, it's not hard to put it on. It's just, you just want to make sure you get it on straight. And I had ink on my finger right there, so you do want to make sure your hands are clean. I had ink all over my fingers. You can see it on the back of there now. But I'm going to do it anyway, because I'm going to show you how I think we can make it work. So definitely wash your hands before you do this, but I'm going to do something that I think will fix that. Okay, let's pull and this one, I didn't use the Stamparatus. I don't think. You can. So don't, at least I don't think I did. I don't remember using it on such a small piece, so I'm just going to ink it up really good. And I know that my ink pad is been used a lot, so stamp it down, and I'm going to really put some pressure down here and kind of hold it there. Just make sure you're not rocking it or you don't move it slightly. And I'm going to let it soak up on that linen paper. And there we go. Now, it does look like that one's darker. It could have been my ink pad was much darker when I started, or I did ink it up, or I did use the Stamparatus, but I don't remember using it on that little piece of paper, but I could have. Now, to try and hide my little imperfections here, I am just going to go around the whole thing and add some Sahara sand. Now, it didn't quite match up there, so I may have to trim that off and have to add a little bit more ink around it. So let me pull in. I don't even think most people wouldn't notice, but I'm going to go ahead and... This is 3 by 6. So this is 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. So when you get yours, it's going to be probably 3 by 3, so that then you can cut it down. Because I'm going to see where I'm at. Yeah, because it's at 2 3/4. But I'm going to trim a little hair off of this side and the bottom so that it matches. 2 3/4 and just a little hair off. I'm not even actually measuring it. I was just trimming. I mean, I could have trimmed it down to like 2.5 by 2.5, but I think we'll be okay. See, perfect. And then all you want to do is attach it. Yeah, use that side. You can use glue, adhesive, whatever your choice is. I didn't put any... I almost put ribbon on it, and then I decided I didn't like the ribbon on it. I didn't... And actually, I had a scrap piece. I should have kept it. I tried to color the hat like just red or yellow just to kind of have it be as a standout. But on this paper, if you take any of the markers, the Stampin' Write markers or the Stampin' Blends, and as soon as you touch it to there, it just bleeds all over the place. Like it soaked it up so much that you couldn't even tell it was a hat. So there, we got rid of my imperfections of my fingerprints behind it, and we made it work. So there you have 2 ways to do it. You can do it just stamping on the paper, or stamping on it and not blending around it, or using your blending brush around it. And I would definitely stamp, unless you've re-inked your pad, stamp it more than once. So use your Stamparatus, because I can tell this one is darker. But isn't it a cute little note card? And you will get the inside piece too. I just forgot to cut it on my own. Okay, so that is our last little project. So real quick, there was that one. Here's our watercolor paper one. Here's our blending brushes on vellum, which I really like this card. I think it is so pretty. Actually, I like them all. I have to say this time and I have more to show you. Here's our little pelicans walking across the beach. And then here's our other beach picture blending on our circle. Now, the ones that didn't make the cut, as I like to say. So I did this one first, and this is with a block. Stamp the block in the ink, spritz it, and put it down on your paper and let it soak up. And I did it on shimmer. Now, I keep thinking that this is Coastal Cabana, and I ended up layering it on Pool Party, or my Pool Party just didn't match directly. I don't know, but it's still a pretty card. I just didn't like what happened here with these 2 colors. That was just my mistake. Watercolor paper here, more blues. I stamped it, then I die cut it, popped it up. This is another watercolor piece that I had in my stash, and it's just with blues. Now, I actually stamped with Night of Navy, and I stamped like 2 or 3 times, and then I went back and stamped the Pelican. But the Pelican, you can really tell is Night of Navy, but because I stamped this like twice or 3 times, and this guy only once, you could really tell the difference. Oh, here's where I did this guy again. Watercolor paper, and then I stamped and die cut. And this one I could color, the little hat. That's what I was trying to do on that other paper, but it just wasn't working. This is vellum using the alcohol markers and then blending with alcohol ink, the 91%, at least 90% and above. And I know we've done this in a video before too at some point. But then I just stamped it and added a phrase, added some baker's twine. There you go. That's it. That's all the cards I have. And like I said, I'm going to put a sneak peek out there today because today is August 4th, I think it is. And tomorrow's the last day to vote. So if you haven't voted, make sure you vote. Of course, by the time you watch this video, you'll already have voted. So I don't know why I always say that. So vote for the next time, I guess. Anyway, I hope you guys are all enjoying the bonus classes. I love doing them. I think they're awesome. They're always so much fun for me to come up with ideas for you guys. So anyway, I will talk to you all later. Have a great day. Bye, guys. Thank you.